All right, tonight we are making Parmesan pork chops. This is a new recipe. I've never made it before, so this is going to be interesting and fun and interesting. So we'll see how well I can do on brand new recipes. So first things first, we got 2 eggs. We're going to put them into here because we're going to be using this for when we bread the pork chops. The breading for the pork chops is 1/2 cup of seasoned panko breadcrumbs, 1/2 cup of Parmesan cheese, 1 teaspoon garlic powder, 1/2 teaspoon paprika, 1/4 teaspoon black pepper, 1/4 teaspoon garlic salt, or regular salt, your choice. So first things first, we got these eggs. Next, we are going to use a paper towel. We're basically just going to kind of dry off the pork chops to make sure that when we do dip them in there, that the egg sticks to them. So get that nice and dry. That paper towel is all wet. We have greased up the wire rack with olive oil. Well, technically olive oil spray. We're going to be using the olive oil spray later too. That. Now we're going to whisk the eggs together. I'm going to take off those gloves because those are gross. Put that in there. Start adding this. Oh wait, no, that's the. Save that for later. That's the rice. In there. Looks good. In there. Start adding the ingredients. And so while we are preparing this stuff tonight, we are going to talk about a game I have complained a lot about in the past, but never really taken the time to really sit down and, collect my thoughts in one place. And that game is The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild for the Nintendo Switch. Now, this is a game that this is a bit of a hot take, because I know some people say, this game's great, I love this game. And to that I say, it's a good open world adventure game. It is not a very good Zelda game. And in order to make this claim, I think we must first define what is a Zelda game. A Zelda game is an adventure game with a focus on doing dungeons to progress your character. In those dungeons, you do puzzles. Using the progression from those dungeons, you unlock more dungeons, you explore more of the overworld, and you eventually beat the game. And with a thematic focus on music. So, how does that kind of line up with Breath of the Wild? Well, actually before we do it, let's go a little bit more into what is it really, like the emphasis of what is a Zelda game. Zelda 1, in the beta version of it, there was no overworld. It was just you selected your dungeons from a menu. And thankfully they did add the overworld to it by the full game. And there are people that say, like, oh, clearly it was originally meant to be a dungeon crawler. Zelda is only dungeons. And I say no. If it was meant to be only dungeons, they would have kept it as only dungeons. The fact that the full game did have overworld plus dungeons says that you got to have an overworld. And so clearly there should be some sort of a world to a Zelda game, right? But the issue with Breath of the Wild is that the overworld part isn't good, and the dungeon part isn't good, and the music part isn't good. Music also, again, being another big focus in the Zelda series. Like the fact that even in the first game you got the recorder. In Link's Awakening, there's, you got to get those Windfish melodies. You're in The Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time, the principal item is the Ocarina of Time. Wind Waker, you got your little conductor stick. So yeah. It's not good. And in addition to not being that good of a Zelda game, it's also kind of does have some issues too, just in general. In fact, I think Breath of the Wild has 5 main big issues. Those 5 issues are... Let me get a glove on for this, because we gotta also get the pork chops ready. Issue 1, this is the big one. There are not that many dungeons, right? There are 4 dungeons. We've gone over this before. And yes, the dungeons that are there are good, but because they can be approached in any order, you run into that issue of every dungeon is the first dungeon. So, you do the first one, you're like, wow, this is great. This is such a cool, unique dungeon. And then you do the second one, you're like, oh, it's just like the first. And you do the third one, oh, it's just like the second. Oh, and then it's the same every time. Every single time, it's the same. Right? It doesn't work. Right? And also, too, in terms of character progression, you get no real new powers from the dungeons. Right? In fact, after the Great Plateau, after basically the tutorial area, the only real new power you get is the armor that lets you go up waterfalls. That's it. That's the only new thing you get the entire game. 2, the music, right? This game has no music, right? There's like environmental sound effects. That's it, right? There's basically, I mean, not literally no music, but compared to like the sweeping soundtracks of the previous games, this is non-existent, right? There were like 3 songs total that I would say were even memorable. The Lionel fight theme, the Guardian fight theme, and the Ganon theme. And the last one's really only memorable because the first time I played the game, I did a 3-heart Ganon run, so like spent a lot of time on Ganon. I got to hear that one a lot, right? The other 2, it's like you know the first 10, 15 seconds of it, the like I don't know, and you don't remember it past that. Needs more dungeons. Well, does need more dungeons. Needs more music, right? There should be big, grand, sweeping soundtracks. There should be a song playing all the time when I'm walking around in Hyrule Field. It should be a good song, too. 3, and this is not a Zelda complaint. This is weapon durability. People complain about this a lot. It adds nothing to the game, right? You say, oh, but it makes it so that there's always something new you can find because it's useful. But it's the opposite. When you find a weapon, you know it's useless because it's just going to break. Oh, I forgot to mention, this is 2 pounds of pork chops. I mean, I guess you would have figured that out, that pork chops come in a standard size of like about half a pound, whatever. Yeah, the weapon thing, it just doesn't work. And the sad thing is, there's such an easy fix for this. There's, in fact, a game that had a really good equipment system that Breath of the Wild could have copied. That game is The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild. Because in the same game, you get armor that lasts forever, but you just upgrade it over time with drops from out the game, right? What they should have done was make weapons be the same way. Make the weapons unique or semi-unique, so you get like 1 short sword, 1 long sword, 1 axe, 1 hammer, 1 fire wand, etc. And they're weak initially, but then the drops you get from enemies are used to upgrade them. Just like the armor. It worked. It worked in the same game. Why wouldn't it work here? Also, bonus game worked in Tears of the Kingdom, sort of. In that game, you get the Master Sword in the tutorial. It's infinite and unbreaking because they fixed it. Then you lose it, but it's possible through a nice glitch to glitch that Master Sword back into the main game and then play through the entire game with an infinite unbreaking weapon. And then using the fuse system, you can add in all the elemental powers. You can have an infinite unbreaking magic wand and an infinite unbreaking hammer that can break, ore, and infinite unbreaking everything. And it worked. It worked really well, right? It was fun. So you can't say durability adds anything to this game. It doesn't. It just detracts. Yeah. 4, enemies, and this again plays into the durability issue. The enemies are health sponges, right? You have to beat on them over and over and over again to kill them. Say, oh, well, you can do creative stuff like drop a rock on them. It's like, yes, great. You did that in the Great Plateau. But you drop a rock on a silver Lizalfos, and okay, you did 5% of his health. Now what? Now you gotta pull out one of your weapons and hit him, and hit him, and hit him, and hit him, and the weapon breaks. And you hit him, and hit him, and hit him, and you pause and pull out another weapon, because that one broke too. It doesn't work, right? And it played into the durability thing, where it's like, if the enemies had less health, at least you probably wouldn't complain about your weapons breaking all the time. Just a second. We'll pause from complaining for a second. This. Give them a little bit of a spray with the olive oil spray to really give Those are nice and crisp. The oven, by the way, preheated to 400 degrees Fahrenheit. And now these are going to bake for 25 to 30 minutes. Again, first time I'm making this recipe, so we will, there'll be some experimentation. Put these in right now. Oof, hot, 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 hot. All right, we'll start out with 25. While we're doing that, we're going to start making the rice. Rice is pretty standard. I've made it before. Cup of rice, and then we're making savory rice. So we're using chicken broth. So 1 cup rice, well, one part rice, 2 parts liquid. And that was about a cup, a little more than a cup, so we're going to put a little more than this. Yeah, enemies, hell sponges. And this really kind of plays into a bigger issue. The game itself is big. It's the Great Plateau area was phenomenal, right? It was an 11 out of 10 tutorial area, gaming area, and it was mind blowing. And I suspect that the people for whom Breath of the Wild is their like greatest game of all time, game of the decade, they played the tutorial area and they played a little more and then they put it down, right? Because that's how most people play games. Most people are not me. They don't beat games. They certainly don't replay and rebeat games. I'm an oddity in that regards. Let's get this in here. Let's make a mess of my table by splashing. Don't splash your table. Yeah, like the game after the Great Plateau goes downhill substantially. It's more of the same. Great Plateau, it front loads. Oh, look at all these new powers you get. Oh, look at all this cool stuff you can do. Oh, look at all these fun physics things you can do. Then what's the rest of the game? Well, it's more of that. So that's in there. So that's gonna cook for another 23 minutes. That's gonna cook for probably about 20-ish minutes. We're gonna start cleaning up. Yeah, I guess whatever. We'll finish our thoughts on Zelda, then we'll clean up while that's running. Yeah, the game is just, it's too big, it's too bland, it's too empty. The world could have been 1/3 the size, and you just shrink everything down, and it would just be better, right? You wouldn't have to take anything out. But yeah, here are my closing thoughts, right? One, the game probably could have been fixable. This is how I would have fixed the game, right? And this would be a wholly better game. One, Great Plateau, instead of it being just a handful of like shrines. Oh, it's actually nothing. The mini problem with shrines. It's the same problem with dungeons because they're flat. There's no building challenge. They're just one-off puzzles. But whatever. I've complained about that a lot. Here's how you fix the Great Plateau. One dungeon in it. In that one dungeon, you get bombs. That's it. You don't get the other 3 powers yet. Then you got to go talk to Great Deku Tree afterwards, and he's like, "Oh, to get the Master Sword, you got to go get 3 MacGuffins." In those 3 dungeons for the 3 MacGuffins, that's where you get the other 3 powers. Because those 3 dungeons wouldn't be the second dungeon, they could be balanced. They could be a little bit harder. They could actually challenge you a little bit more. Then after that, you get your Master Sword. And then at that point, then they say, okay, now you're strong enough to go do the Divine Beasts. And now suddenly they can balance those Divine Beasts around the fact they're the 4th, 5th, 6th, 7th, whatever dungeon. 5th through 8th, right? Yeah, because I can count. Now you can actually have big, hard dungeons that build on the past challenges, right? It would not just be a flat game of like, well, everything's level 1. It's just... And then obviously, nerf enemy health, eliminate durability, add music. Yeah. Breath of the Wild. Not a very good game. Definitely not a good Zelda game. An okay-ish, good-ish open world game. I don't like open world games, so I'm probably not the best person to judge in that regards. But yeah. The good news is surely Nintendo will use the problems for Breath of the Wild to learn what to do in future Zelda games, and they won't just release another game identical to it a few years later. Because if they did, I would have to complain about that game using identical complaints. So yeah, on a scale of gets my goat to gets my guy, The Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, gets my goat. And now I'm going to clean up the kitchen. We will check back in 20 minutes and see if those pork chops are done. All right, and we're back. The pork chops are done. The rice is going to be done in a couple minutes, but we're going to get started on the pork chops. Grant, you want a little mini piece?
Yeah. Big.
A big piece? Grant, here. Let's...
I never tried that.
I know you've never tried that. It's a new recipe. I've never tried this either. It's going to be exciting to see how it tastes. Cut that up for you. Get you...
Let me try it.
Okay. Let me need you... You want me to get you a fork?
A fork.
Get you a fork. I'm just going to take a quick bite of this. How did this turn out? Oh, these are really juicy. A little bit of cheesiness to it. Cheesiness.
A little bit of cheese next to it.
Yeah. It's pretty good. You also got some green beans. You make these in a microwave. You don't need to show cooking that. That's pretty straightforward. All right. I think we're done here. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Yeah, we're done here.